I still remember the way my father's hands looked, rough and cracked like old leather, marked by years of hard labor and sacrifice. They were not the kind of hands you see in magazines or movies, polished and smooth, but they were the hands that built my world. Those hands carried bricks, lifted wood, repaired broken furniture, tied my shoelaces when I was small, and wiped my tears when I was afraid. When I was a child, I thought there was no one stronger than my father. He could carry me with one arm, fix anything that broke, and chase away my nightmares with a single lullaby hummed in his deep, husky voice. What I did not understand then was that true strength is not only in muscles, it is in the sacrifices a man makes silently every single day. We were not rich, not even close. Our house was small, barely standing, with a tin roof that sang loudly whenever the rains poured. But my father never let me feel poor. He made poverty feel like simplicity, not misery. Every Sunday morning, while other children bragged about their new toys or bicycles, my father took me fishing at the river. We sat for hours with little to catch, but he always told me the same thing. Patience, son. The river gives to those who wait. At the time I thought he was only talking about fish, but now I realize he was teaching me about life. He showed me how to hold the fishing rod steady, how to listen to the current, how to respect the river as though it were alive. He never lectured me, never forced his wisdom. He simply lived it and I absorbed it. When I was 12, I noticed the first crack in his strength. He began coughing, a deep hollow cough that bent him forward. At first, he brushed it off with a smile, telling me it was just the dust from work. But sometimes late at night, I would hear him coughing in the kitchen so hard I thought his chest would break. My mother would rush to him with water, whispering, "Please go to a doctor." But he always shook his head. Doctors cost money, and money meant less food or no school fees. And to him, nothing mattered more than my education. So he worked through the pain, carrying heavy loads, breathing in dust, sweating under the sun, all for me. I remember one evening when I was 15, sitting with him on the porch, the sky painted orange by sunset. I gathered the courage to tell him, "Dad, I want to be a writer." My classmates laughed when I said it. They told me stories don't feed families. But my father looked at me with those tired eyes and said, "Then write, son. Write the world the way you see it. A man who follows his dream never walks hungry. His heart feeds him." I could not understand how a man so broken by hardship could speak such beautiful words, but I never forgot them. That night he handed me a small notebook. Its cover was worn, its pages yellow. "Use this," he told me. "Fill it with your world." I did not realize it then, but that notebook was his first gift to me, and it shaped the course of my entire life. Time, however, is cruel. By the time I turned 17, my father could no longer hide his illness. His steps grew slower. His hands trembled when he tried to fix things, and his cough grew harsher. One evening I found him sitting on the porch again. His cigarette burned down to ash between his fingers, staring at the horizon as if searching for something. I asked him if he was okay. He smiled weakly and said, "I'm fine, just tired." But that very night he collapsed. We rushed him to the hospital, the place that smelled of disinfectant and despair. The doctors told us his lungs were damaged beyond repair. Years of inhaling dust and smoke had eaten them away. "We can keep him comfortable," they said, "but there is no cure." I sat beside his bed, holding his hand. It felt smaller and weaker than I remembered. His voice was faint when he whispered, "Don't cry. I've lived my life. Now it's your turn." But I wasn't ready. I wanted more time. In the weeks that followed, his body weakened but his spirit didn't. He spoke less, but every word carried weight. He never complained, never cursed fate. On his last morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting golden stripes across his bed. He motioned for me to come closer. "Open the drawer," he rasped. Inside was a small wooden box. I opened it with trembling hands and found my old notebook, the same one he had given me years ago. But now it was filled. Not with my words but with his. Page after page was covered in his crooked handwriting. Letters to me. Advice, memories, prayers for my future, stories of his childhood, lines of wisdom he never spoke aloud. My hands shook as I turned the pages. The last one read, "My son, if you are reading this, it means my voice can no longer reach you, but my words can. Live bravely, love deeply, and never forget, you were my greatest story." Those were the last words he gave me. That notebook became his final gift, more valuable than any inheritance, more precious than gold. It was not just paper and ink. It was his voice preserved, his love written into eternity. When he passed, grief wrapped around me like chains. Did not crush me all at once. Instead, it came in small waves day after day. I wore his old watch, though it no longer ticked. I sat by the river where we used to fish, waiting in silence, hearing his voice in the rustle of water. Every time I picked up a pen, I felt as though his hand was guiding mine. His death did not end him. It transformed him. He became the whisper in my ear when I doubted myself, the warmth in my chest when I wrote through the night, the patience I carried when life tested me. Years went by. I became the writer he believed I could be. My words traveled farther than I had ever dreamed, across oceans, into homes, into strangers' hearts. One day during a book signing, a little boy came to me with a notebook in his hands. Its cover was worn, its pages empty. "Will you write something for me?" he asked. I smiled, remembering my father's gift. I wrote, "Follow your dream. A man who does that never walks hungry." In that moment, I realized my father's gift was not just for me. It was for everyone my words touched. His legacy lived on through every sentence I wrote, every reader I moved. On the 20th anniversary of his death, I returned to the river where he once taught me patience. The water flowed endlessly, carrying time away like pebbles. I sat there with his notebook on my lap and whispered, "I made it, Dad. I'm living the dream because of you." For a moment, the wind carried the faintest sound, a husky laugh just like his. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, the grief did not hurt. It healed. Because love does not die. It becomes eternal, living on in words, in memories, in the lives we touch. And that was my father's last and greatest gift, teaching me that even after death, love continues to write its story.